Hello, my soul family, and welcome to today's first episode of our new series, A Course in Miracles, 365 Days. We are going to be reviewing the lessons on a weekly basis. This is a very powerful book that are Jesus' teachings compiled, and they are going to guide us towards love and living through our higher self versus the ego, which is fear-based. And if you want to go even deeper, make sure that you do listen to my teachings of the first 31 chapters. They're all available at my School of Light, ChristyRamirez.com/school. And I promise you that once we're going through these lessons, you're going to understand deeper what really we are talking about, because there's so much deep understanding that we can really break down, and it's just going to be able to help us enlighten our life and also improve the quality of our everyday living, because living through love is living through a high vibration. And I can't tell you how many people living through fear are limiting their potential and also blocking miracles from being manifested. And this book, A Course in Miracles, as it says plain in front of us, it is going to teach us how to magnetize miracles, because these miracles can only be attracted in an environment where the energy is clear, we are in faith, we have trust in God, and we are in ultimate divine alignment. And this book will do just that. These teachings for the next year is going to really help us. And Jesus, being that he is the ascended master of healing and love, and he was the Son of God, he was here to guide the collective, guide the people, and also illuminate the way for them to get access to these gateways of heaven. So this is just very important for our soul journey and the evolution of our spirit, because again, we are more than just flesh, Jesus being the ultimate example of this, and he did come here for our salvation, for the freedom of our sins. And this is all in the first 31 teachings. We speak about atonement, what it takes, the power of forgiveness, and how to repent your old life, maybe sinful ways, and then converting and transforming and transmuting into this new self that is of light. And this light is what is healing also to others. And this is how we can then do as Jesus did and walk like Christ. Remember, the word Christ that was appointed to Jesus of Nazareth means the chosen one, the anointed one. And A Course in Miracles is very specific in saying that we are all chosen since the day that we are born, because again, God wouldn't create a being if he didn't intend for that being to be chosen. Think of animals and plants being the most pure and innocent of all beings. There's nothing harmful about them because they're just so pure of heart. And humans, being that we're a little bit more evolved, have the willpower to choose either path. And so God chooses us all, but it's only a few that choose God back and choose also to follow through with the mission. And this powerful mission that we've been given is what's going to illuminate the world. And I'm sitting here in my mission, sharing what I love to teach and God's words and messages for all of us, so that we can really learn together, evolve together, and grow this year, especially before we reach the New Year's. My goal with the series, we're starting this series in May. We have till the end of December. That's my goal. I want to be able to do about 6 lessons per gathering and unite probably once a week. And yeah, just once a week, because God doesn't want me to overload it. And also there's just so much that goes into just one lesson as well. Like each lesson will take us about like 10 minutes. So being that we're gonna go further, maybe we'll do 2 to 3 and then see how we are there. And I just want us to enjoy this moment that we have together, See this as our new weekly ritual. This is a little happy hour this Friday evening for me before I go out, so it's a great moment to get dressed up, have a little coffee, and just be here in this luxurious environment, because God is luxury. This kingdom of heaven is elegant, classy, and we, being that we are children of God, we are chosen royalty, we should treat ourselves the same. So let us take a moment and we will get started. Alright, so we're going to read the introduction today, because the introduction is a very important foundation for the rest of the lessons. The rest of the lessons are shorter, but this is very important. Okay, so a theoretical foundation such as the text is necessary as a background to make these exercises meaningful. Yet it is the exercises which will make the goal possible. An untrained mind can accomplish nothing. It is the purpose of these exercises to train the mind to think along the lines which the course sets forth. So we are retraining this mind. We are unconditioning the mind that has been conditioned by society and perhaps traumatic ways of growing up, or any just negative belief systems that were instilled in you from a young age. We're needing to erase that and be here open-hearted with a blank slate of mind. And that takes a lot. That's just the work in and of itself of today. A lot of healing has to go through that, and the first 31 teachings does help you to retrain your mind. So that's why I'm saying you must take a look at this foundational teachings in my School of Light, and I promise you that it will help you to understand these deeper, and then of course have its effect in your life. These are for daily application, so make sure that you check out these teachings at my School of Light, which you become a member at ChristyRamirez.com/school. Because an untrained mind can accomplish nothing, cannot attract miracles, right? It is the purpose of these exercises to train the mind to think along the lines which the Course sets forth, which is Jesus' guidelines, God's guidelines. So the exercises are very simple. They do not require more than a few minutes, and it does not matter where or when you do them. They need no preparation. They are numbered, running from 1 to 365. And the training period is 1 year. Do not undertake more than one exercise a day, and I know that that's very specific on that, but since we're doing these weekly, we can afford 6 to 7. Okay, so the purpose of these exercises is to train the mind to a different perception of everything in the world. And I do want to say that also these teachings, each episode is about 60 to 90 minutes long, so we've developed a lot of endurance. And again, you just must get like a cup of coffee or something to get really cozy and just really focus on everything that God has to say. The workbook is divided into sections, the first dealing with the undoing of what you see now, and the second with the restoration of sight. So we're in the first part right now. So undoing what we see now, that's the first part, right? So that then you can restore the spiritual sight versus just the physical sight. It's very different. It is recommended that each exercise be repeated several times a day, preferably in a different place each time, and if possible, in every situation in which you spend any long period of time. So definitely go over these videos as many times as you need throughout the week to really help you to apply it in different situations. The purpose is to train the mind to generalize the lessons so that you will understand that each of them is as applicable to one situation as it is to another. Unless specified to the contrary, the exercise should be practiced with the eyes open, since the aim is to learn how to see properly, right? And the only rule that should be followed throughout is to practice the exercises with great specificity. Each one applies to every situation in which you find yourself and to everything that you see in it. Each day's exercises are planned around one central idea. The exercises themselves consisting of applying that idea to as many specifics as possible. So be sure that you do not decide that there are some things you see to which the idea for the day is inapplicable, as the aim of the exercises will always be to increase the application of the idea to everything. And this will not require effort, only be sure that you make no exceptions in applying the idea. No exceptions, right? This applies to everything. And some of the ideas you will also find hard to believe, and others will seem quite startling. It does not matter. You are merely asked to apply them to what you see. You are not asked to judge them nor even to believe them. You are asked only to use them. And it is their use which will give them meaning to you and show you they are true. So remember only this: you need not believe them, you need not accept them, and you need not welcome them. Some of them you may actively resist, and none of this will matter nor decrease their efficacy. But allow yourself to make no exceptions in applying the ideas that the exercises contain. Whatever your reactions to the ideas may be, use them, and nothing more than this is required. All right, so let's get started right away with lesson 1, which is one of the most powerful ones. Nothing I see in this room, on this street, from this window, in this place means anything. It's removing the meaning behind all that we see, detaching ourselves a bit from reality, not too much that you lose touch with reality, but definitely for when you're wanting to go deep into your spiritual journey and do some reflection. It is important to detach yourself from everything around you, everything in your life, and then see where that takes you. So now slowly look around you and practice applying this idea very specifically to whatever you see. This table does not mean anything. This chair does not mean anything. This hand does not mean anything. This foot does not mean anything. This pen does not mean anything. And then look further away from your immediate area and apply the idea to a wider range. That door does not mean anything. That body does not mean anything. That lamp does not mean anything. That sign does not mean anything. That shadow does not mean anything. And notice that these statements are not arranged in any order and make no allowance for differences in the kinds of things to which they are applied. Right? This is just applying this to everything that you see. That is the purpose of the exercise. The statement is merely applied to anything you see, and as you practice applying the idea for the day, use it totally indiscriminately. Do not attempt to apply it to everything that you see, for these exercises should not become ritualistic. Again, don't get too deep into detaching yourself that again you lose touch with all that's around you. Because again, even though Jesus said, be of this world, but not of this world, he didn't mean completely detach yourself, because Jesus was still a part of the world. He was only guiding the world. He was a little above the people, only so that he can be able to illuminate the way and guide others. So only be sure that nothing you see is specifically excluded. One thing is like another as far as the application of the idea is concerned. And I wrote a little bit of notes here. This is like removing the darkness, the ego filter, that will, again, shield and will cover as a veil of illusion. And we are being asked to let go of these beliefs of our body and see through the light body. This is the Holy Spirit. This is how we get access to heaven, the kingdom of heaven, which eventually is home. This is about returning home, to our spiritual home. So give permission for spirit to show you the way. Very powerful. That's like the main summary of lesson 1. Lesson 2. I have given everything I see in this room, on this street, from this window, in this place, all the meaning that it has for me, right? We have given it meaning. That's why it's important to remove the meaning so that we can rewrite that meaning and let God give us the meaning, the other true meaning. The exercises with this idea are the same as those for the first one. Begin with the things that are near you and apply the idea to whatever your glance rests on. Then increase the range outward and turn your head so that you include whatever is to either side. If possible, turn around and apply the idea to what was behind you. Remain as indiscriminate as possible in selecting subjects for its application, and do not concentrate on anything in particular. And do not attempt to include everything in an area, or you will introduce strain. Merely glance easily and fairly quickly around you, trying to avoid selection by size, brightness, color, material, or relative importance to you. And take the subjects simply as you see them. So it's about seeing this table as a table versus such a beautiful, luxurious black velvet table or ottoman, whatever you want to call it, right? Remove the descriptions and just see it for what it is. That's how we also see truth, right? Try to apply the exercises with equal ease to a body or a button, a fly or a floor, an arm or an apple. And the sole criterion for applying the idea to anything is merely that your eyes have lighted on it. Make no attempt to include anything particular, but be sure that nothing is specifically excluded. So just exemplifying on lesson 1. Lesson 3, I do not understand anything I see in this room. So this is again, since we acknowledge and we accept that we have given our own meaning to something, right? It can be an experience as well. Think of experiences now, we're getting deeper. If you have a belief system about maybe relationships or love, that love is not real, it doesn't work out, something always fails, that's almost like a negative belief system you've given to just the term relationships, right? And that concept. And then lesson 3 is asking us to accept that we don't understand anything because we were the one that gave meaning to it. So it might just not be true. It's very subjective truth, right? So I do not understand anything I see in this room, or about relationships, or about life in general, about anything. Again, this can be applied to anything. That's why on this street, from this window, in this place, and apply this idea in the same way as the previous ones without making distinctions of any kind. No judgment here. Whatever you see becomes a proper subject for applying the idea, and be sure that you do not question the suitability of anything for the application of the idea. These are not exercises in judgment. Anything is suitable if you see it. Some of the things that you see may have emotionally charged meaning for you. Again, we've attached emotions to things and to experiences, right? And then it's almost like sometimes people generalize that to everything else. So like if you have a personal experience with pets or dogs, then you might generalize that to all dogs or to all relationships, right? And that's just not the case because everything is unique. So try to lay such feelings aside and merely use these things exactly as you would anything else. The point of the exercise is to help you clear your mind of all past associations and conditionings to see things exactly as they appear to you now and realize how little you really understand about them. And it is therefore essential that you keep a perfectly open mind, unhampered by judgment in selecting the things to which the idea for the day is to be applied. And for this purpose, one thing is like another, equally suitable and therefore equally useful. Okay, so lesson 4, now that we've got that down, these thoughts do not mean anything. So now we're going into our thoughts. We don't understand anything that we see, and now whatever mental association we've attached to what we see, we also don't understand. Our thoughts don't mean anything because they have been self-created. They are like the things that I see in this room, on this street, from this window, in this place. So unlike the preceding ones, these exercises do not begin with the idea for the day. In these practice periods, begin with noting the thoughts that are crossing your mind for about a minute, and then apply the idea to them. If you are already aware of unhappy thoughts, use them as subjects for the idea. Do not, however, select only the thoughts that you think are bad. You will find that if you train yourself to look at your thoughts, that they represent such a mixture that in a sense, none of them can be called good or bad. And this is why they do not mean anything, right? We've completely just detached whether they're also good or bad. No judgment here. In selecting the subjects for the application of today's idea, the usual specificity is required. Do not be afraid to use good thoughts as well as bad. None of them represents your real thoughts, which are being covered up by them. The good ones of which you are aware are but shadows of what lies beyond, and shadows make sight difficult, right? If there are shadows ruminating from your past, it's very difficult to see a new situation clear as day. So that's why you need to remove everything, every meaning that you've associated, so that you can start again, so that you can be restored, so that you can be renewed and rebirthed. The bad ones are blocks to sight and make seeing impossible, including miracles. That's how you block miracles as well. You do not want either. This is a major exercise and will be repeated from time to time in somewhat different form. The aim here is to train you in the first steps towards the goal of separating the meaningless from the meaningful. It is a first attempt in the long-range purpose of learning to see the meaningless as outside you and the meaningful within. So all the meaning comes from within, because this withinness is the connection to spirit, the connection that we have to God, the sacred relationship that we have with the divine. It is also the beginning of training your mind to recognize what is the same and then what is different. In using your thoughts for application of the idea for today, identify each thought by the central figure or event that it contains. For example, this thought about blank does not mean anything. It is like the things that I see in this room, or whatever it is that you are. You can also use the idea for a particular thought which you recognize as harmful. This practice is useful, but it's not a substitute for the more random procedures to be followed for the exercises. Do not, however, examine your mind for more than a minute or so. You are too inexperienced as yet to avoid a tendency to become pointlessly preoccupied. Further, since these exercises are the first of their kind, you may find the suspension of judgment in connection with thoughts particularly difficult. Do not repeat these exercises more than 3 or 4 times during the day, as we will return to them later. So now that we are nearly at a clear slate, we get to start with lesson 5 and lesson 6, and maybe we'll stop there because these are very related. So let us just take a little pause. All right, so let us continue then with lesson 5 and 6 for today. I am never upset for the reason I think. This idea, like the preceding one, can be used with any person, situation, or event that you think is causing you pain. Right? By us affirming is the word, that we are not upset for the reason we think. So we are not upset for whatever belief or reason we've made in our mind. We can choose to see from an objective mind. Apply it specifically to whatever you believe is the cause of your upset, using the description of the feeling in whatever term seems accurate to you. Now, the upset may seem to be fear, worry, depression, anxiety, anger, hatred, jealousy, or any number of forms, all of which will be perceived as different. This is all of the ego, and these are definitely emotions related and attached to the ego. So when you're living through your ego, you're very much vulnerable to becoming victim to these emotions that are very low vibrational. And so this is not true. However, until you learn that form does not matter, each form becomes a proper subject for the exercises of the day. Apply the same idea to each of them separately is the first step in ultimately recognizing that they are all the same. Right? It doesn't matter which of these emotions you are experiencing, at the end of the day, they're all the ego. So you just need to really focus on diminishing the ego so that you can just get rid of any emotion that might be created by the ego. And when using the idea for today for a specified perceived cause of an upset in any form, use both the name of the form in which you see the upset and the cause which you ascribe to it. For example, I am not angry at blank for the reason I think. I am not angry at this person or at my life or at my past for what I think. And I am not afraid for the reason I think. Now, again, this should not be substituted for practice periods in which you first search your mind for sources of upset in which you believe and forms of upset which you think result. In these exercises, more than in the preceding ones, you may find it hard to be indiscriminate and to avoid giving greater weight to some subjects than to others, right? Because there's just going to be things that are going to be more hurtful, more painful, that we're going to want to attach our ego stronger to that. And it just doesn't matter what it is. We need to practice just equality when trying these exercises. It might help to precede the exercises with the statement, there are no small upsets, and they are all equally disturbing to my peace of mind. Because it can be as simple as you getting upset over maybe a phone call that disturbed you, Or you could be upset about a breakup that you had, right? Obviously, one of them is more significant than the other, but they're both disturbing your peace of mind. So really, one is not greater than the other. They're both achieving the same result. And we want to get rid of that disturbance of peace so that we can restore our peace of mind by living through love and just not letting that ego disturb us or even create fear in our life. It's just, we become untouchable. So then examine your mind for whatever is distressing you, regardless of how much or how little you think it is doing so. You may also find yourself less willing to apply today's idea to some perceived sources of upset than to others. And if this occurs, think first of this: I cannot keep this form of upset and let the others go, right? It's either one or all. For the purposes of these exercises then, I will regard them all as the same. So then search your mind for no more than a minute or so and try to identify a number of different forms of upset that are disturbing you, regardless of the relative importance that you may give them. And then apply the idea for today to each of them using the name of both the source of the upset as you perceive it and of the feelings as you experience it. And further examples are: I am not worried about blank for the reason I think. I am not depressed about blank for the reason I think. So this just applies to everything. 3 or 4 times of these affirmations throughout the day is more than enough. And then lesson 6, which is continuing this message: I am upset because I see something that is not there. So it's just reversing that. I am never upset for the reason I think. It's just that I am upset because I see something that's not there. I am choosing to believe in something that might not even be the reason, and it's creating upset for no reason, right? So the exercises with this idea are very similar to the preceding ones. Again, it is necessary to name both the form of upset. You have to be clear on what it is and what emotion is upsetting you and what you're feeling. It could be anger, fear, worry, depression, and so on. And then the perceived, because that's only the way that you can break it down. It's like giving yourself therapy. It's like you're in a therapy room when definitely doing these exercises. And then the perceived source, very specifically for any application of the idea. So for example, I am angry at blank because I see something that's not there. So I am angry at this phone call because I perceive that they disrespected me, when they might just have, maybe you were having a bad day, maybe it was one of those marketing calls, and maybe they said something that was upsetting and you took it the wrong way, but really it's just you're seeing something that's not there because it wasn't intentional. And then with the breakup situation, it could be that maybe you think that there was maybe someone else, or they were lying to you about how they felt, but maybe it had nothing to do with that, and it's just something more personal, right? I am worried about blank because I see something that is not there, or stress, or whatever. So today's idea is useful for application to anything that seems to upset you and can profitably be used throughout the day for that purpose. However, the 3 or 4 practice periods which are required should be preceded by a minute or so of mind searching as before, and the application of the idea to each upsetting thought uncovered in the search. Again, if you resist applying the idea to some upsetting thoughts more than to others, remind yourself of the 2 cautions stated in the previous lesson. Remember, you can't discriminate, and you can't just apply to one thing and then not to another. There are no small upsets. They are all equally disturbing to my peace of mind. And I cannot keep this form of upset and let the others go. For the purposes of these exercises, then, I will regard them all as the same. So I think that today's lesson, or lessons, are very powerful, and it's a great way to start the week and really start to clear our mind of any past conditioning. Learn to be objective and open-minded before making assumptions about what we're feeling, any negative emotions that the ego might be creating. Again, the ego is always playing with our mind, and we need to be conscious of that. And when you are conscious of that, you can catch the ego before it has its full effect. And that's how you become stronger, and how your higher self is able to guide your life, your vessel, and then live a life of more peace and love and light. And this is how then we become healers, we become walking embodiments of Christ, we become this lighthouse, and this is the only way that we can really heal ourselves. So I hope that today's message really helped you and really taught you more about this concept and A Course in Miracles, and that we're really going to go deep into this course. I love this course. This is like my 5th time teaching this course, and I really recommend that you check out and watch the full series, the full episodes at my School of Light. It's an online school that I created many years ago, a couple years ago, like 4 years ago. And the past year, I refilmed that series, A Course in Miracles. So it was the best that I've ever done. And it's been completed. There are again 60 to 90-minute episodes at christyramirez.com/school. You will see the membership link there. And I promise you that it's going to change your life, it's going to benefit your life, and it's definitely going to improve the quality of your life. Thank you for watching. My name is Christy Ramirez. I am a soul coach, spiritual influencer, motivational speaker, and spiritual teacher. Thank you again, and I will see you next time. Namaste.